Hi guys! For today's video, we will be discussing Session 2, which is Self-Awareness and Regulation. Before we start discussing, let us first know its objectives. The objectives of this session explain the importance of self-awareness and regulation and discuss how their practice helps demonstrate a capacity for leadership. Analyze situations in which self-awareness and regulation play a significant role in leadership. Resolve the practice self-awareness and self-regulation in order to further develop leadership capacity. This module is an introduction to personal leadership and competence. It discusses self-awareness and self-regulation as foundation for leadership realization. It was designed for students who are exploring the values of personal leadership and competence, how they should equip themselves to meet the demands of the requirements for success. In the modern workplace, technical skills now take second place to an employee's ability to learn on the job. Communication skills, adaptability, creativity, responsiveness, personal management, motivation, contributorship, social skills, and leadership potentials are now especially identified as desirable traits. In other words, modern technologies has changed towards the accommodation of new technologies, systems, and also processes. Foundation of management skills, self-awareness. What is awareness? Awareness is about having or showing a realization, perception, or knowledge of a concept, situation, circumstance, or person. Awareness is generally defined having or showing a realization of what happening in our surroundings. Example is the COVID-19. Alam kong lahat tayo aware of this virus, di ba? Alam ko ding aware tayo sa mga dapat at hindi dapat natin gawin. Alam kong aware tayo kung ano yung kaya nitong gawin sa ating mundo. That's an example of awareness. Aware tayo kung ano yung mga nangyayari sa ating paligid. Next is the self-awareness. Self-awareness allows us to recognize our place and role in the world and to express thoughts and behavior based on them. Ang self-awareness ay nire-recognize kung ano yung role natin dito sa mundo as a person and to express thoughts and behavior based on them. Like I said before, awareness is being aware of what happening in our surroundings. When we say self-awareness, it expresses our thoughts and kung ano yung magiging behavior natin based to that situation. Another example of self-awareness is when we're talking to our friends. Aware ba tayo na itong kaibigan natin na ito ay gusto rin ba tayong kausap? Aware ba tayo na itong kaibigan natin na ito ay gusto yung pinag-uusapan natin? Yan yung mga dapat alam nating aware para magkaroon tayo ng effective communication. Self-awareness questions. Meron tayong mga katanungan dito na maaari niyong sagutin habang pinapanood itong video na ito. Number 1. Do you listen to others during a conversation? Or do you tend to do a lot of talking? Number 2. Do you ask others how they feel about situations? Or do you make assumptions based on your own feelings? Do you think about how your actions affect others? Or do you confident that others are fine with you handle situations? Number 4, do you aware of the people's social cues? Or do you mostly focus on your own? And lastly, can you admit when you are wrong and have apologized when you are? Or do you tend to think that things are wrong or go bad because of others? If you're done answering those 5 questions, try to check if you are self-aware or not. Answering yes most of the first line, it means that you are already self-aware. But if you answer most yes to the second line, it means that you need to be aware of other people's reaction. Developmental theory by Jean Piaget, 1896 to 1980, has the assumption that a child's thinking changes at the precise onset of particular developmental stages. According to Jean Piaget, the way how we think is changing when we're developmental stages attain. Which is true. Habang tayo tumatanda, nagbabago the way how we think, the way how we react. And also, nagkakaroon tayo ng bagong areas and capabilities when we go to developmental stages. Focus is on the processes of assimilation and accommodation. Assimilation is the process by which a person incorporates stimuli from the environment into mind and changes it to conform with what a person already knows to be part of him, while accommodation refers to the difference made to one's mind or concepts after the process of assimilation. That is the theory of Jean Piaget. Developmental theory by Jean Piaget, 1896 to 1980, states that growing up influences a child's capability to understand the world. Children cannot do particular tasks until they are psychologically mature enough to do so. Inaccurate. Cognitive Development by Andres Demetriou, 1950, offered a combination of empirical evidence from Piaget's theory and aspects of psychometrics and cognitive theory, functional levels of organization, core processes, mental operations, knowledge, and beliefs. Cognitive Development by Andres Demetriou, 1950, aimed to describe and explain intellectual development, individual differences in the rate and direction of intellectual development, and cognitive mechanisms underlying development and actual differences that occur between changes. More accurate application. According to Demetriou, there are three functional levels of organization: the core processes, the mental operation, knowledge, and beliefs. The core processes refers to the information processing ability of person to attend, to select, to represent, and operate based on information available. Mental operation, these are thoughts, processes, and functions that specialize in the representation. Knowledge and belief, these are the self-oriented level because we have different knowledge and beliefs according to the situation.
Hello everyone, my name is Marjeline Gabitan from BSIT 2A BPO and I am reporting the self-awareness and regulations, slide 16 to 30. We have 5 areas of self-awareness. First is the personality, values, habits, needs, and emotion. First is the personality. According to various psychology papers and other published material, there are as much as 20 personality types that determine how we project ourselves, relate with others, and deal with experiences. We have all different personalities. Example is on how we communicate to others and kung ano yung pinapakita natin sa kanila. Second is values. Personal values are what we refer to as convictions about what we feel are important and attractive, advantageous, or beneficial, and we all possess a unique and complex combination of them. There are 2 types of personal values. We have the terminal and instrumental. When we say terminal, these are and end states we strongly want to achieve, such as a comfortable life, freedom, happiness, or salvation. It is focuses on our goals in life, that desirable states of existence, including family, security, freedom, and equality. Next is the instrumental. Convictions about desired characteristics or certain modes or behavior such as being ambitious, forgiving, thoughtfulness, or politeness. Next is the habits. These are behavior we repeat routinely and often enough, even automatically, that they tend to be unconscious. Being self-aware will help us examine and re-examine habits that get in the way of being more effective when we undertake tasks or complete projects. All of us has habits in our daily life or daily routine. Self-awareness can help us to being more active to what we are doing. Next is needs. Contrasted with one's needs drive us to do the things we do, act the way we act, or think the way we think, according to Abraham Maslow, who formulated the commonly called the hierarchy of needs, 1943 theory. Our behavior is often driven by our psychological needs, psychological safety, affection, esteem, and self-actualization. Example of needs are clothes, house, foods that it that is very important in our daily life. While in wants, yung mga gusto lang natin na mga bagay, kunwari cellphone, na hindi naman siya masyadong important sa pamumuhay natin. Next is the emotions. Our combined feelings or emotions is one of 5 facets of emotional intelligence. Understanding them requires us to analyze and know the underlying factors and processes associated with rooted emotional experiences. Emotions are how individuals deal with matters or situations they find personally. Experiences strong feelings such as anger, happy, etc. Next is the 5 Abraham Maslow hierarchy identifies level of needs. First is the self-actualization, realizing personal potential, self-fulfillment, seeing personally growth, and peak experiences. We all know if what potential we have as an individual, accepting of facts, and we have ability to solve a problem, also being a creative people. Next is the self-esteem. Self-esteem, achievement, mastery, independence, status, dominance, prestige, managerial, responsibility, etc. Ito yung kung paano natin pinapahalagan ang mga bagay na gusto nating ma-achieve. Third is love and belonging. Work group, family, affection, relationships. It is one of human needs and it is required to be fulfilled in order to achieve self-actualization. Belonging is an individual that can overcome loneliness. Next is the safety needs, protection from elements, security, order, law, limits, stability, etc. From the word security are keeping us safe from harm. Next is the physiological needs, air, foods, drink, shelter, warmth, sex, sleep, etc. These are biological requirements for human survival. Next is areas of self-awareness and their importance. Understanding the areas of self-awareness as gain insight on the various aspects of our lives, including the competencies, areas that influence our holistic personal development. These are the competency areas that benefit from practicing self-awareness, skills development, performance, intuitive decision-making, stress management, motivation, and leadership. Ito yung benefits from practicing self-awareness. Isa pang importance ng self-awareness is developing a healthy self-awareness is critical to developing other skills considered to be critical competencies for leaders. Next is the Johari window. Practicing self-awareness requires reflection, one tool determined to illustrate the process accurately is the Johari window. It is designed with 4 quadrants. The model assigns specific self of personas to each quadrant. Quadrant 1 is the public self, the quadrant 2 is the private self, quadrant 3 is the blind self, and quadrant 4 is the undiscovered self. In public self is information about you that both you and others know. In private self, information about you that you know but others don't know. In blind self, information about you that you don't know but others do know. And last is undiscovered self, information about you that neither you nor others know. Next. And practicing self-awareness. As a friendly tool, the identity quadrants define aspects of our personality based on how our personal attributes, strengths, and weaknesses are disclosed, made known, or perceived by others. Objectively filled out, it is expected to provide a person with a holistic understanding of him, herself. Next is self-regulation. It is a stage where awareness of certain behavior leads to self-policing action or the capacity to alter behavior. It determines how we can choose to respond and the way we do respond to particular situations, circumstances, events, and people. It is the ability to manage and understand your own behavior and reactions. Next is we have 2 theories of self-regulation. First is the social learning theory by Albert Bandura, 1925. Focuses on learning that occurs within the social context, suggests that the environment has an effect on modeling where individuals' identity and ideal and patterns their behavior after them modeling becomes successful is there is attention, retention, motor reproduction, and motivation. This theory that is the part of social learning process in addition to the observation of behavior learning also occurs through the observation, rewards, and punishment. Next is self-determination theory by Edward Deci and Richard Ryan. SDT assumes that people have psychological needs that are the basis, self-motivation, and personality integration. This theory have 3 innate needs identified that allow optimal function and growth, fostering well-being and health if satisfied. the competence, relatedness, and autonomy. First is the competence. Seek to control the outcome and experience mastery. Next is relatedness. Universal, want to interact, be connected to, and experience caring for others. 3 is the autonomy. Urge to be causal agents of one's own life but not necessarily independent of others. In addition to self-determination theory, Dekay and Ryan stated that self-determination is to endorse one's actions at the highest level of reflection. When we are self-determined, we experience a sense of freedom to do what is interesting, personally important, and virtualizing. That's all. Thank you.
Phases of self-regulation. Forethought, reaction, or setting standards and goals. Sets the stage for action and maps tasks. Forethought is a thinking or planning out in advance. It is also a consideration for the future. For example, pangarap mong maging IT professional, so iisipin mo yun kung paano mo siya makakamit. So you think in advance so that we consider as a forethought. Number 2, performance control. Involve processes and the utilization of strategies to reach success. It is all about strategies or planning on how to achieve your goal. Number 3 is self-reflection. Reflection after performance outcomes are compared to goals set in the forethought phases. It is a ability to pay attention to your own thoughts, emotions, decisions, and behaviors. It is also improve your decisions and behavior. Aspects of self-regulation. Setting standards and goals. This is an objectives to plan that steps to meet what you're going to be. For example, if you want to pursue your goal, go through with steps and standards before you achieve it. Number 2, self-observation. You're going to check if your performance is good enough to commit that goal or there is something you need to be better. Number 3 is self-judge. Self-judge is systematic comparison of actual performance set against goals. For example, is expectations versus reality. Yung akala mo madali lang, but in reality, it is too hard to achieve your goal. Number 4, self-reflection. Self-reflection is personal process of evaluation that takes places during the activity. Methods of self-regulation. Identifying behavior patterns, creating positive reinforcement with the use of small, possible reinforcement and reasonable rewards. Consciously observing the frequency or internet of particular behavior, correction in the event that wrong behavior is demonstrated. Challenging ourselves by criticizing negative behavior and reinforcing positive ones. Challenging defeatist attitudes, changing our reaction or response patterns. When we learn to identify specific positive or negative behavior, we can go about consciously on watching out for the ones, actions, or stimuli that trigger them. We can change our response patterns to stress one and other triggers. We can correct ourselves consciously and challenge defeatist attitudes. How do self-awareness and self-regulation help me develop leadership competence? Self-awareness is an essential trait of a great leader by knowing your values, personality needs, habits, and emotions. How they affect your actions and the actions of others. You'll be better able to manage your stress, make better decisions, and ultimately lead others to do the same. How can self-awareness and self-regulation help me go about developing my leadership potentials? Think about what you are doing. Second, you need to be true to yourself and identify your strengths and weaknesses. You need to admit your weaknesses because it is important to admit yourself that you help with your list of weaknesses. You need to set short and long-term goals. Don't check anything off your list of weaknesses until it is something you do naturally without thinking about it. In long-term goal, it is improve your cognitive skills, ask others for advice, and lastly, reassess your progress, assess your goals from the previous week, add new goals, and check off those goals that you achieved. What are performance pitfalls or behavior I should be watching out for? First, poor prioritizing, timing, scheduling, and lost time. Why are self-awareness and self-regulation considered desirable competencies? It becomes emotionally aware and learning how to manage that awareness. It allows us to understand our strengths and weaknesses and is a critical step along the path of self-improvement. Case study leadership crossroads is on how you face the problem as a leader. Example, how can we solve the problem without a leader? Diba? So, we need a leader to think how to resolve the problem.